I am with Zohran Mamdani, New York's next mayor.
How's it going? It's such a pleasure to be here.
Before we talk about anything else, I want to address the scandal.
Which one?
Your scandal.
Well, the New York Post published an article that when I ran to be the vice president of Bronx High School of Science nearly 2 decades ago, I did not deliver on my promise for free juice.
Free juice?
Free juice for high school seniors. I hadn't actually conducted a feasibility study, and they found out, and they splashed that in their daily.
You know, you obviously didn't learn your lesson from the 10th grade. Because now you're running on, free buses, free universal childcare, affordable housing.
I mean, just horrific things.
Obviously, you don't know the free market. Had you understood the free market in 10th grade, you could have used private equity to buy up all the juice at the school and sell it back to the students.
At an ever-increasing price.
And you want to be the mayor. Okay.
I went on a 15-day hunger strike with the New York Taxi Workers Alliance that represents thousands of working-class taxi drivers. And we won $450 million in debt relief for working-class taxi drivers across New York City.
At a time when the medallion prices were so high, people were committing suicide.
9 drivers took their own lives, and I was on hunger strike with one of those drivers' brothers, who was one of the leaders in this struggle, and they had been fighting for years. Everyone knew that this was a crisis. Everyone knew the city had created this crisis by artificially inflating the value of the medallion. What happened was Bloomberg had a budget deficit in the early 2000s, looked at the medallion as a means by which to bridge the gap, took the innate value of it of about $200,000, pushed it all the way up to $1 million. They knew these drivers could never earn enough money to pay that loan back. And they even welcomed in the same lenders that had just been kicked out of the housing market. And then on top of that, the city let in hundreds of thousands of for-hire vehicles that decimated their ability to collect.
The medallion was $1 million, and then Uber happened.
On top of that.
So these people were they were screwed over right away.
Screwed over 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And when I was elected to state assembly, I ran on a promise to cancel excessive medallion debt. And I met these drivers who had an average debt of $550,000, some of whom had lost their homes because the lenders would come for the house after they got the medallion. And what we won was a guarantee from the city that if a driver defaulted, then the lender could not take their home. And we won a reduction of that $550 down to less than $200,000 with an erasure of $450 million in debt.
My man. The core of your campaign is public transit.
It's to make the city more affordable.
Free buses.
Yes.
Your thing, you wanted to take the 100 of the most popular bus lines and make them the fastest they've ever been. How are you going to make them faster?
There's 2 ways. One, when you make it free, you actually make it fast because you actually reduce the time it takes to board. So the second thing is the city actually owns the streets of New York, unlike so much which requires the state's approval. If you design the streets, that is the key to making a bus fast or slow. We have the slowest buses in the country. The average speed is about 8 miles an hour, parts of Manhattan, 5.8 miles an hour. And so what we would do is build bus lanes that would speed up these buses. We'd have preferential transit signal prioritization lights that would ensure that buses can actually cross through when we're just in the midst of getting a green light. And we would allow all-door boarding on these buses because right now the MTA only allows it at the front, which means you're standing behind an auntie and uncle who are looking through their pocket to find their Metro card when in fact every single door could be used to just get on and off.
Green schools?
Yes, green healthy schools.
So what does that look like?
At the core of green schools is the understanding that children are the ones who will face the greatest brunt of the climate crisis.
Yeah.
And right now we have children who are in schools where they are facing toxic conditions, schools that have asphalt playgrounds.
Wait, asphalt's bad for you?
Asphalt's not great.
Okay. Wow, okay.
This is not paid for by the asphalt lobby, clearly. Too often climate is understood as something that is separate from our day-to-day life, separate from quality of life, when in fact it's at the core of it. And we're going to make these schools healthy, we're going to make them green by bringing them up to code with not only energy efficiency, but also things that reduce the level of heat that kids are actually having to play on, making it safer for them, because one of the greatest causes of death for children in New York City is traffic violence. And one of the core pieces of this platform is to make every street outside of a school an open street where kids can actually play in the street. They don't have to worry about a car coming in. When parents pick up their kids or drop them off, they don't have to worry that someone's going to be speeding through and hit their child.
Rent freeze.
Yes.
Right now, if you're in a rent stabilized apartment, it goes up a percentage. That percentage is agreed on by the city commissions. You're like, nah, it's not going to go up like at all.
We have a rent guidelines board It's composed of 9 members. The mayor of the city of New York appoints each one of those members. They determine if the rent's going to rise, if so, how much. Their own study showed that while the median household income of these tenant households is $60,000, the landlord revenue has increased by 12%. So we have a disproportionately working class tenant base, and then a landlord who are seeing profit after profit, revenue after revenue. And what we need to do is keep New Yorkers in their homes. So that's why I've committed to freezing the rent. We've seen it under de Blasio. It's time to bring it back.
Okay, I'm going to edit the part out where you said de Blasio. We don't claim de Blasio. Are you campaigning with that? Okay, you know what? I'm editing this out. 200,000 new homes. You want 200,000 new units built.
Yes, we actually want far more than that. But what makes our campaign distinct is we want the public sector to play a role in housing construction.
People are going to hear that. They're going to think projects. You're going to build projects.
What we're actually
like Mitchell-Lama?
In a style of Mitchell-Lama, in the sense that Mitchell-Lama was actually affordable for New Yorkers. We're going to build publicly subsidized housing for a family of 4 that makes $72,000. The New York City right now that we love has a number of programs. One is called SARA, Senior Affordable Rental Apartments. One is called ELA, Extremely Low Level Affordability. These are the affordable housing projects that we are building, but they're not at the scale we need to build them. Because right now you'll see too many times when we try to answer the question of the housing crisis, we say that if we build enough, that'll be sufficient in and of itself. We do need to build. We also need construction that is immediately affordable. And that's what I hear from New Yorkers when I call them and I say, hey, do you want to apply for an affordable housing unit? They say, how much do I have to earn? I say $140,000 a year. They hang up the phone. They need housing that is targeted to the median household income, which is $72,000 for a family of 4.
Not a lot of people know the difference between projects, Mitchell-Lama, and what'd you say, Sella?
This is Ella and
Ella.
Sarah. These
Ella,
are,
Sarah,
I mean, ultimately what it is truly affordable housing. The word has lost its meaning in New York City because of how high the
I
income
used to be a real estate agent. The vacancy rate is
so low.
It's like 1%.
Yep.
Less than 1% in most areas.
The 1% we want to talk about is the 1% that we're going to tax.
Okay. What income bracket are we doing here?
People ask, how are we going to pay for it? We're going to tax New Yorkers who make $1 million a year and more
Okay.
by a flat increase of just 2%.
Okay. I was a little
You're
worried
totally
for a
fine.
sec.
And if you do make $1 million, this is a flat 2% tax.
Okay.
We're talking about a rounding error.
Okay.
And the other way that we're going to raise a significant amount of money, $5 billion to be specific, is to match New York's top corporate tax rate
with Jersey.
with Jersey.
Yeah,
Yes.
because the thing is like, well, if you raise corporate taxes, they're all going to leave. All the businesses are going to leave. They're going to go over to Jersey. But in Jersey, it's higher. So it's like, all right, where are you going to go?
And the other thing is that you get taxed as a corporation if you do business in New York, not if you're headquartered here. So if a corporation moves, but it still does business here, it'll still face that tax.
Yeah,
And the reason we're confident that they will pay that is we have an extremely strong economy.
Well, the funny thing is people are going to ask, oh, how are you going to pay for it? Andrew Cuomo, he wants more police. Right now, we give 5% of our city budget to the NYPD. There are 34,600 police officers. And he's like, nah, that's not enough.
I mean, that's the only answer he knows.
No one's going to ask him how he's going to pay for all of those police. Crime is going down. And of course, the answer is we need more police.
And I think that just shows you have someone like Andrew Cuomo, who is a guy who's moved here from the suburbs and is running a campaign with that vantage point of New York City.
New York City has a time-honored tradition of electing non-New Yorkers, people that don't even live here at all, like Eric Adams. Remember that one campaign video where he was like, oh, I live here, look at this. Yes, that is a stove that I use all the time.
These are my sneakers.
Yes, it's sneakers.
I'm a vegan. That's salmon in the fridge. Why? Don't ask.
Eric Adams dropped that video. It was a masterpiece. That was like the hottest mixtape of the year. And so another thing with regards to safety, you want to make the subway safer. How?
So we're going to create a Department of Community Safety. This is a department that is going to aggressively pursue evidence-based policies that have been successful elsewhere in the country at protecting New Yorkers. So it has 5 focuses: gun violence prevention, homelessness, mental health crisis, victim services, and hate violence. At the core of it, like you're asking about, is the subway system. Many New Yorkers feel least safe in the subways. We're going to do 3 things. We're going to deploy teams of trained outreach workers at the 100 subway stations with the highest level of homelessness and mental health crises to connect New Yorkers in the midst of those things to the actual services they need. We're going to transform vacant commercial units in the MTA to become sites where you can receive medical care and connections to long-term care. And we're going to have transit ambassadors in subway stations so that when New Yorkers want to ask someone, is this train working? What exit should I use? What update should I need to know about? They have someone there.
You need people dealing with the social needs of the community.
Yeah.
When there's actual violence, yes, you can call in the NYPD. There's so many social problems that need to be addressed, and they can't be addressed by cops shooting at someone that jumped the turnstile.
And that's at the core of it, which is that police have a critical role to play in public safety, but what we're doing right now is relying on them to deal with every single failure of the social safety net, and it's preventing them from doing their actual jobs. And you can look at the clearance rates for major categories of crime in New York City. They are very low. We need to increase them by allowing trained workers to deal with these crises and allowing the police to focus on those categories.
Who's going to play Candy Crush on their phones while the civilians take down an active shooter? You know, we need the cops. You know, don't let anyone tell you we don't, right? Wait, you want to raise the minimum wage?
Raise the minimum wage. We were trying to get you to $1 million a year.
But if you raise the minimum wage, then China.
Yes, you don't even need to have an argument.
China.
You could just have keywords.
China.
That's how politics works.
Tariffs.
Yeah. Give another one.
Southern border.
Here we go. You heard it here first. The greatest hits of the arguments against an affordable New York City.
Fentanyl.
Another one.
What do you want to raise the minimum wage to?
$30 an hour. And ultimately, because the minimum wage should be a living wage. That is already what is required to live in New York City. Because I speak to so many New Yorkers, well, they're actually formerly New Yorkers, because now they live in New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and they commute in to New York City to work because of just how expensive it is to live here. And it's important that just in the same ways we fought for a $15 minimum wage, we have to fight to actually have a wage that you can live off of. And that's the same tenet that is driving all of our agenda. It's this focus on how do we make this city affordable. That's why we want to have a network of municipal-owned grocery stores where we guarantee cheaper prices. Because whether you're making $40K a year or $200K a year, I hear from New Yorkers who say they feel that sticker shock when they go to the grocery store. They try to pick up the things that they used to be able to easily afford, and now it's seemingly out of reach, especially when we're talking about eggs. And it doesn't have to be that way. The city can actually guarantee cheaper prices, and we know that because we've seen Kansas do it. We've seen Chicago do a feasibility study.
Kansas does this?
Yes, Kansas has been running a
big
municipal-owned
socialist Kansas.
Look, that's what they call it.
Marxist Kansas.
BMK, Big Marxist Kansas.
Big Marxist Kansas, baby.
You heard it here first.
So you're stealing this idea from the Marxists.
Yes, of Kansas. It speaks to two crises. One is one of affordability. The other is food deserts. You know, I represent Queensbridge Houses, the largest public housing development in North America. And when I speak to my constituents, they say, why in a 5-block radius are there 6 fast food restaurants, but I can't find a place where I can afford produce?
Here's the messed up part. My friend lives all the way up in the Bronx near Bedford Park. He comes down to my neighborhood to shop. What? I can't say that on camera. He comes down to shop at the Whole Foods and the Trader Joe's near me because it's cheaper than the C-Town in his neighborhood. And he's in the hood. And it's so much, C-Town is so much more expensive. He's like, he looks at Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, he's like, this is so much cheaper. But Whole Foods and Trader Joe's is not coming to his hood.
No.
They're absolutely not coming.
That's what's so frustrating is this is a non-negotiable. We're talking about food.
Yeah.
Everyone needs this. It's not something we should allow people to be priced out of. The city already has a program called City Fresh, where they're set to give corporate supermarkets $140 million. But they don't require them to accept SNAP or WIC. They don't require them to engage in a project labor agreement. They don't require them to guarantee cheaper prices. They're just giving money in the hopes that these corporations will do right. And we know that they have not and they will
They're
not.
just gonna, yeah.
And so our proposal costs less than half, and it would actually guarantee these results.
So you represent Queensbridge, Nas,
Let's
the
go.
41st side of Vernon.
Come on.
Let's go.
Come on.
Out of Queensbridge, is it Nas, Mobb Deep, Cormega? You got to pick one.
I gotta be honest, Shook Ones is something that has stuck with me since the beginning of time. And
Over Illmatic?
it's tough. It's not popular. It's probably not the right political answer, but I just went with the truth for me.
Shook ones over murder music.
Shook one's over everything.
You know, I mean, listen, I understand what you're saying. Personally,
I hear you. I see you.
you know what,
You're
like
wrong.
Ghostface Supreme Clientele is like, you know, a classic. It should be my favorite, but you know, if you asked me, I would tell you Iron Man, Ghostface Iron Man. That's my favorite. You know, and is Supreme Clientele a better album? Yes.
Well, what do you feel?
But you know what I mean? Like, Iron Man's just a little bit more soulful. It's just a little bit more raw. So listen, Shook ones over murder music. You know what?
You know I have courage.
It's
saying
a bold
Yeah.
it's a bold statement.
We got a bold agenda.
and you've also thrown Illmatic completely under the bus.
I mean, 5 mics. We can never disregard the fact that Illmatic is a classic, right?
Okay.
But this is my song.
Okay. Queensbridge representing.
Queensbridge, Astoria houses, Ravenswood, and Astoria in Long Island City.
So yeah, get out there and vote. All right, don't rank Cuomo.
Do not.
This is ranked choice voting. Rank everyone else. Rank him at the top, please.
Thank you very much.
We are here on the Upper East Side, which has the highest concentration of donors for the mayoral campaign of Andrew Cuomo, aka Donald Trump's bestie. We're going to chat with some people on the street and see who they think is good for New York City. So I'm going to read you 5 facts, and then I'm going to have you guess who did it, Trump or Eric Adams. And at the end, I'll let you know.
I'm in.
I know.
The two evil doers.
Literally. Evil men. Not a fan. All right, fact number 1. Took $5 million out of the MTA to bail out upstate ski resorts.
Adams? That sounds like an Eric Adams one.
I'm going to guess Trump.
Spent $60 million of taxpayer money on legal defense for his own scandals, including suing a woman accusing him of sexual misconduct to get her gynecological records.
Sounds like Trump to a T.
Textbook Trump move, right?
Both of them?
Trump.
Cut New York City's public health funding in half.
Adams.
He loves to cut funding.
Adams.
I'm going to guess Trump again.
Gave Elon Musk $1 billion in taxpayer money subsidies for a project that failed to fulfill its economic promises.
Trump.
Ooh, that one's Trump, right?
He's obsessed with Musk.
And I don't get it.
Definitely Trump.
All right, and the last one is cut funding for public schools so badly that New York State became the 49th least equitable school system in the country.
That happened?
I didn't know that.
Adams.
Trump.
All right, we have a Trump guess for 1 through 5 from Steven. Ready for the big reveal? All of those were done by Andrew Cuomo.
You need to leave.
Dude.
Really? That's horrific.
Oh my God. Imagine not having like a sexual criminal in as the mayor, right?
The bar is like, it's down under the subway, into the crust of the earth.
So basically what we're doing out here is we are encouraging voters to DREAM, which stands for Don't Rank Eric or Andrew for Mayor. So you can go to dreamfornyc.com to learn more. Tell all your friends to dream. Okay, cool. The Democratic primary for the mayoral election is coming up on June 24th, so everybody remember to dream. Crying baby, hold for crying baby. Even the babies know, no mo Cuomo.
No mo Cuomo.
Andrew Cuomo, New York's former governor, is now by a wide margin the Democratic frontrunner in New York's mayoral race. Before the Democratic primary in June, I wanted to provide some context based on my years of looking into Cuomo for The New Yorker. In 2021, Cuomo resigned from the governor's office in disgrace. There were a number of factors. Then New York Attorney General Letitia James had investigated and released a report finding evidence of serial sexual harassment, retaliation, bullying, and the smearing of enemies. There was an impeachment inquiry, which had also found evidence of the sexual harassment allegations, as well as misuse of state resources for personal gain and lack of transparency regarding COVID-19 nursing home deaths. A lot of coverage has focused on those sexual harassment allegations, but as an investigative reporter, I actually always found the most consequential issue around Cuomo to be the way his administration was shadowed by serious allegations of corruption, and how Cuomo himself was accused of using impeachable and potentially illegal tactics to shut down investigations around him. In 2014, Cuomo worked to quietly terminate a corruption commission that he himself had started. It was called the Moreland Commission. The Moreland Commission was launched in 2013 with a promise by Cuomo to root out corruption in New York politics. It had broad authority to pursue investigations about powerful state officials, including legislators and even the governor's own office. But as soon as investigators started looking into leads that touched Cuomo's allies, including firms that had donated to his campaign, his team intervened. Subpoenas were blocked, investigations were redirected. Then when the office of federal prosecutor Preet Bharara started looking into why and how the commission was shut down, Cuomo actually personally called the White House and tried to get Bharara removed from the case. Any effort by the White House to influence an investigation by a federal prosecutor could constitute criminal obstruction of justice. People around the call at the White House told me they recognized its dubious legality quickly and shut it down. Former officials who worked on the Moreland Commission in some cases told me they stayed quiet for years because Cuomo or his inner circle threatened them. It's a playbook we hear about again and again when we look at Cuomo's career. Threaten, retaliate, stonewall. And as his status as frontrunner in the mayoral race shows, that playbook can work. I've also reported extensively on Donald Trump, and the parallels are hard to avoid. Like Trump, Cuomo is testing whether the American public cares about accountability or whether we're in a moment where strongman tactics just work.
I'm about to go and disrupt Andrew Cuomo. A lot of people think he was a great governor. He was not. He will make a terrible mayor. He wants to, what does he want to do? He wants to expand the NYPD. Fuck that shit. He's being bankrolled by big real estate. He's being bankrolled by billionaires that also support Trump. When he was governor, he defunded the city's health care. He took money out of the MTA to bail out ski resorts. He gave Elon Musk $1 billion for a failed project. 11 different people accused him of sexual harassment, so much that he had to resign.
And we'll say to people in this city, stick with us. Stick with us. I know it's been tough, but it's going to be different, and it's going to be different quickly. Thank you for having me. And when we build affordable housing, we need to use all resources. Andrew Cuomo does not deserve to be mayor. Andrew Cuomo does not deserve to be mayor. What do you have to say for yourself? What do you have to say for yourself?
Let's go, brother. Let's go.
We don't forget. We don't forget. Go ahead. Abuse me. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Nobody's abusing you. Get out the way.
Why are you pushing me?
Get out the way.
Why are you pushing? I'm allowed to leave. Stop touching me. Name badge number. Name badge number. Name badge number. Name badge number, asshole.
Officer, what's your name?
Name and badge number.
What's your name? What's your name?
Name and badge number.
I will give it to you outside.
Woo! Let's go. How you doing? Thank you for your service. Yeah, there's something going on there. You guys should go in. So yeah, Andrew Cuomo, terrible governor. Andrew Cuomo, let's give some fun facts about Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo took money from the NTA, gave it to ski resorts upstate. He bailed out ski resorts upstate.
No, I don't want to get arrested. Like, he gave me his He gave it to you.
He's allowed to record. He's allowed to record.
When you're on the sidewalk, go. Fucking prick. All right, cool. Have a good day. Go home.
Listen, do you guys need help making your wives come?
All fun.
Okay. Woo! My favorite part of tonight, the other candidates, their staff would see us and be like, oh, it's going off. It's going off. That was the funniest part. You'd see some staffer walk by and wink at us.
So we were in there for so long. There were 8 candidates.
Yeah.
And all of them went to go speak before Andrew Cuomo. So it was from like 6, like a few hours.
Oh, God.
And we hadn't had anything to eat or drink. I had this whole prepared speech, and I just forgot it because I was just hungry and dehydrated from not eating or drinking for 4 hours. So when I got up there to like say my thing, I was just like, Andrew Cuomo!
Yeah.
You're bad! You're a sick man! And then the police.
You're all Antifa. You're all Antifa.
Yeah, fuck that.
Hamas. Hamas Antifa. Ham-Tifa. Hamas Tifa. If you're a conservative and you don't like Andrew Cuomo, you need to not like him for the right reasons. Okay? None of this, he's a Democrat nonsense. I wanted to jump on stage when he was like, you guys defunded the police, and I'm like, who the fuck says that? That's like, I'm like, do you get your news? Like, he watches Fox News every day. I was like, the budget has gone up like steadily year after year.
Do not rank Andrew Cuomo for mayor. He took millions out of the state budget for the MTA for side projects. He used MTA money to bail out ski resorts. Ski resorts. People think about him as being strong when it came to COVID, but he lied about that and tried to cover up grandmas and grandpas dying in nursing homes. Andrew Cuomo lied about old people dying in 2020 so that he could make more money on his book deal. I'm not joking. When the pandemic started in 2020, the upstate undertaker Andrew Cuomo was doing daily COVID updates to project a sense of control when in reality behind the scenes a whole different thing was happening and he was focused on the bag. The breakdown is this. In March, the pandemic starts, but by June, he had already sectioned off a partition of his aides who were supposed to be helping manage the COVID crisis to start writing his memoir called American Crisis: Leadership Lessons During the COVID-19 Pandemic. But in the middle of negotiating a $4 million book deal, he ran into one issue, which was that the numbers being projected for the death toll didn't match up with the image of the cool, calm, collected, and in-control Cuomo, so he did his best Chef Boyardee impression and started to cook the books. He lied about the amount of elderly people dying in nursing homes to the tune of 50%, literally half of the amount of deaths that actually occurred. And then after a donation from nursing home CEOs, he wrote an act that would then prevent nursing home CEOs from being liable to lawsuits for the deaths that occurred in those nursing homes. So not only is he a liar, not only did he sell out people's grandmas and grandpas for the bag, but he also had people writing his book on your tax dollars. Do not rank Andrew Cuomo for mayor. The deadline to register to vote is June 14th and the primaries are on June 24th. Go do it.